Okay, I kind of miss us having an opening, but unfortunately, StreamYards decided to hide that behind the paywall. So now we're just going straight live, and we are
Yeah.
live right now with some magnificent published authors, the Black Knights, and we always have R.H. Snow. How have you guys been? Well, we start off with you, Snow, because you're talking about in the background that it's kind of crazy down there, seemingly per usual.
Well, yeah, it was yeah, Black Knight's asking if I live on Mars or something. Yes, we actually enormous ice storm supposedly coming in, and I say supposedly because it's always iffy. Anything that's this far out, we're out more than 3 days, and weather models don't really
Yeah.
handle Texas cold well. The weather models don't want to think that Texas gets that cold, but we do. We're probably going to get down around 10 degrees, 14 degrees or so. That gets pretty rough. And then we have on top of this, a very active system that could bring in a whole lot of ice into it, like maybe 4 inches of ice. And I'm saying that guardedly, but nobody quote me on that yet. That's the worst case scenario, that we would get 4 to 5 inches of ice with 10-degree temperatures, because that would bring all of our infrastructure down. Because Texas, like I said, we're not built for that. We're built for storms and hail and everything else.
Mhm.
But when it comes to ice, and we have large trees, and they've been very good about trying to trim them out here, but when you have 4 inches of ice on a tree branch, and those trees are Texas trees, meaning that they may be oaks and things like that, but those limbs aren't used to that weight, and that will literally destroy a tree down here, especially ash and things like that. So we're really concerned about large trees taking down of enormous amounts of power structure. We're expecting to lose our power, and even if we have even a half an inch take down the power line. So we're getting kind of ready for that, and it's exciting to get ready for a big winter storm and everything. But knowing that I have animals that I've got to take care of means I have to get
Yeah.
paper, and I have to make sure that I have a piece of lighting. For instance, I have my chickens, and we have a chicken house. We actually do have it. But how do
Mhm.
you keep that if you don't have electricity? Well, what we have is a thing called a chimenea, and I think you might know what that is. Uh, uh, a Chimeneas are actually they're like made out of Mexican clay, and they usually have a little a chimney. But unfortunately, my chimney fell off of mine, so it's like a little round egg with the top sort of missing. And
Mhm.
but you put charcoals and things like that down in there, and then you light it, and then it heats it up. Well, so I put there's also, you can put a metal pot on top of it, and you can actually cook in that. So we actually have the metal pot for it, and it will act like a radiator, and it will heat my chicken house. But we have to be very careful, because you can end up with a chicken house actually burning down, and a lot of them.
Uh-oh, I think we got a little stutter there. Can you
Yeah.
hear us now?
Hello.
Okay, well maybe she'll rejoin us in a moment, because I know it's kind of crazy down there weather-wise, and she was talking about maybe having some light connectivity issues. So how are you doing, Black Knight? How you been since last time we spoke?
Well, I've as I mentioned the last time,
Yeah.
I was uh working. I'm still working on the eighth
Mhm.
book in the main series, in my main series, and it's like more than half of it was already complete. I'm just making sure that um, I wrote like a few chapters and some scenes, and I was just making sure that it's up to snuff, and all the tables and the special notes that they have
Mhm.
uh, about the possible plot holes and stuff. I have checked them thoroughly. So that's what I was doing. Um, as for what I have been doing today, well, as you know, the usual stuff, the edits, and a few poems, a few short haikus, and a tanka poem, which I'm not going to post. They are secret. Maybe someday I will, but the usual stuff. So that's about me. What have you been doing yourself?
Staying busy per usual, but I want to see Snow. Are you back with us down there? Can you hear us at all? No, not yet. Snow, if you could hear us, you might have to restart, try to rejoin here on the stream. See if that may fix whatever ailment just showed up. Always hate it when it's right in the middle of the stream, but every now and then that's what ends up happening. Um,
Yeah.
but with that, why don't we go ahead and dive right into our subject matter? Because it's one that you chose. I thought it was actually quite interesting. And I want to see what you pulled from this, particularly
Mhm,
with your
mhm.
writing about essentially ancient naval warfare in
Can
antiquity.
you drop the image that I sent on Discord? Can
Give
you
me a
use it?
moment. Yeah, give me a moment. Let me bring up Discord.
Because I think it will be quite um descriptive.
Mm-hmm. All right, just give me one quick second. Just got to press some buttons on the background here, and hopefully we will get that image right up on the screen. Okay, there we go. Cool, cool. I got it up on my screen right now.
Nice. Yeah. So um for those who are unaware, which I was one of them, I was unaware. I simply assumed that in antiquity they had these marvelous shippies made of wood, of course, with large crews, and they were highly capable of waging warfare, and they could shoot stuff, and they could sail across the seas, and this and that. Well, that was a misconception. That pretty much. Um, what you see on this image is what basically what was the quote unquote staple of sea warfare in antiquity, and that includes the rowing ship. Um, Most navies could field biremes or triremes with two or three rows of oarsmen, and they had steering oars, two of them. They had battering ram, and in most cases, the naval warfare in antiquity was relegated to um, ramming, which wasn't what most Hollywood movies show it to be and describe it to be and imagine it to be. It was dangerous and mostly considered to be somewhat of a last resort, because if you ram some ship and you're unable to pull back from it, um, it will sink and it will drag your ship with it, together with it. So in most cases, it was a boarding action. The ships would close by. Um, there were in the beginning there were like some skirmish action. Some people who would attempt to shoot the and try to uh, wound the crew of the warriors, the soldiers on the enemy ship, but it wasn't that prevalent. So basically, what you had was like soldiers and some sailors who would steer the ship, the rowing ship, and of course lots of oarsmen. Um, the ships, they did not have masts. They did not have um, sails. First of all, because the sails were expensive. The rigging was also expensive. So, and it was complicated. You needed dedicated sailors to operate the masts and the sails. Later, when we were talking like Roman Republic times, then you have much changed ships. Like imagine the ships that you're looking at this image now, but with multiple masts, with lots of sails, even more oarsmen, and with artillery and other like nifty gadgets installed on them. But I'm getting ahead of myself. So this is the purest form of ancient naval warfare. You have the simplest of oaring ships, rowing ships, and you have just soldiers, just 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 your regular soldiers with the spears and the super short swords. Maybe some of them would have slings. Maybe some could shoot the bow. Maybe some would throw spears, and that's it. That is it. This is your naval warfare. And in most cases, what these ships actually represented were the transports of of your land army. They would get your land army much faster from point A to point B. Of course, there was a danger of the weather and the sea, but it's like high risk, high reward. You can get to the battlefield days before your enemy. And if you get to the battlefield days before your enemy, you win. You win. You don't have trains, you don't have APCs, you don't have tanks. I mean, yes, you have cavalry, that's your tank, but mobility, the movement speed of your land army is what gives you the advantage, what gives you the victory. If you can get to the to your victory location with your army, you win. And basically, naval warfare was like the second ugly head which grew beside the main head of an ogre, like a monster. That was what naval warfare began as. So that's the gist of it.
Okay.
That's the basics of it.
Interesting stuff for sure. Now, Snow, you cut off early. I want to give you a chance to go ahead and finish up there because you're talking about a lot.
Oh, because naval warfare. My father was, and actually was on the ship. It was actually a battleship at the Blue Ridge, which is a different Blue Ridge we have. That was from World War II. So I grew up with a second. He actually had a lot of books, naval warfare, and the thing about naval warfare is that it's the greatest machine on Earth. And so when you're looking how far back with these incredible things like that, I actually knew that name. But ancient naval battles, who've and guns to attack another, perhaps one either got something you want, was certainly appealing to every way. When we think back what we did with, have you played or uh, or any of those games? Guys, have you ever played them? Like where it's the war games where you have little parts that move around on the boards.
Yeah, I have before.
Hmm.
I did as a
Hmm.
kid.
Well,
Yes.
this is a thread that goes all the way back to ancient of people sitting around like with not toy systems and army, but with toy ship board. Actually, a game we played when I was young, where you battle had, it was a grid. You would call out the coordinates, try to find where a ship was, play board. And it's been around since I would say time of chess. And so when we look at an army of how troops move on a battleship, what coordinates, or F4, and you would try to get these coordinates that this first little ship they have on the board has been around chess. The ability to get those ships in one place and status of people, and especially children who actually moved studying war is fascinating to. It's part of our life. Certainly, although war thing, it's not something we want, but it is part of our life. Seeing these ancient and these ancient machines, the ships rank because that is not just by hand from wood, but by the minds know how to bend their wood. Shaping us is not just about sawing and putting it together. It's about molding the wood. It's about carving out these and things like that that will carry these enormous just one little person. So this whole metaphor of the movements of the flow, how they actually with some of these great inventions that come up what we see in war. I think I love hearing you talk about. So excited. I'm like I really. I'm like you guys because as much as I hardly know anything, and everybody war was has been on the show was how incredibly you have an old neighbor and you start to get it's amazing. I'm going to let you all talk.
Yeah, Snow, you're actually breaking up a bit on my end. I don't know if that's
Something
Yeah, it's on my own. I'm on my end too.
okay. I probably got something going on. Let me try to hop off and see if I can hop back on. Okay, guys.
okay. Yeah,
But
yeah.
I love what you're talking about. I think it's great. Thank you.
Yeah, sometimes connection issues happen, unfortunately, which has been permeating with the crazy weather that's been going on
Oh yeah.
right now. How did weather factor into all this with the antiquity back then? Like, how did
Oh yeah.
sort of
It
predict
was
weather and how did that?
oh well, I've actually read two articles on it. One on the weather. One was written by the professor who specialized in what was that thing they call it? The rituals that they did to predict stuff. They would sacrifice an animal and they would look at its guts and just like divine, quote unquote, divine
Oh, wow.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah, you get the idea. So that was highly um that was a thing in the ancient world. They did that a lot. They also watched the skies for omens, and pretty much anything could be an omen. Like some of the stories of a general, one of the generals who he was about to attack Sparta, the Athenian general, and he stopped the invasion, the attack, because there was like uh, a bird which died and fell just like um, a few feet from him, and the priest, like there was a priest who assumed that that was like a terrible omen, and they kind of uh, just postponed the attack. Um, but apart from all of this, they did have sailors who, for the most part, those were like the long voyage sailors, people who would transport goods, because of course like the bulk of the most important trade was done via ships. Of course the ships were small, they weren't that big, they were quite small, they had like uh, the shape of a small Viking longboat, almost like but wider and it's like stuffier. And they did not have like a main deck. They were just like a boat with stuff loaded on it and tied with ropes and um, straw and all kinds of stuff to insulate it. And it was messy, but if they could get from, let's say, from Greece to Egypt and back, um, they would make a crap ton of money. And this is how they kind of evolved their maritime strength. But as far as weather goes, like weather was king. If you could, um, if you had like experienced sailors, navigator, quote unquote pilot, who could like not predict but recognize the patterns of the changing weather, and if there be the storm, or if there be like a squall, or there will be the rainstorm or something, or anything like that. Or maybe he could uh, sense if the wind would change direction, and stuff. Then you will be like you will have a favorable journey. Still a single storm could sink most of your fleet, and which is
Wow.
what, yeah, which is what happened quite a lot of times. And that's the reason why the fleets in antiquity, they tend to sail close to the shoreline,
Mm-hmm.
um, which meant that in case of like a terrible storm or something, at least part of the troops could swim to the shore and survive. Um, Maybe they would lose the cargo, they would lose the equipment, but they would save the people.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing was that navigation like wasn't that reliable. You didn't have satellite
Yeah.
mapping
Yeah.
and stuff, and maps were secret. Maps were fucking like they were expensive as shit. Like, and most of them weren't that accurate. Um, and if you could sabotage your like the enemy
Mm-hmm.
city state and sell them a fake map, or a map with like some mismanaged details, let's say some shallows, and they would sail all over, like straight into the shallows, and crush their ships on the rocks. Then then you're golden, and they would do that too. So it was, as I mentioned earlier, it was high risk, high reward.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like it. Got some espionage there with just a lot of like seemingly near lone wandering following the shoreline.
Yeah, it's some leaders like Alexander and Xerxes. Let's say Xerxes, he built a bridge of ships, and that was like a massive engineering marvel.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, it's almost like a pontoon bridge. Not almost, it's like a pontoon bridge, but at sea. He could uh, do that because his ships were quite large for the time,
Yeah.
and he would just like arrange them in a certain way. He would build like some wooden structures to connect them. The issue with most of these, like, um, how should I call them, sea engineering marvels or like tricks of warfare, of naval and naval warfare in the antiquity, was
Yeah.
that again you are susceptible to the weather. The weather is again king.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're thinking that, yes, I'm going to assault um city, this harbor, and you have like, you modify your ships, your triremes, your biremes, and you have these like siege towers. You build like small siege towers on their fort, um, and then you approach the city, and you start shooting at the city, and this and that, and your soldiers start climbing the towers, and then the storm comes,
Mm-hmm.
and you're fucked. And you're fucked because the sea slams your ships into like the harbor rocks, and you're fucked. So yeah, it's I'm not saying that modern naval warfare is perfect, that it's totally super safe and stuff, because it isn't. But back in the day, oh boy.
Yeah, yeah. It was a new frontier with plenty of new things to learn along the way.
Yeah, yeah, it was quite interesting to read and learn
Mhm.
about it.
And how did that affect your writing? Like, what did you take from that that could have inspired your own space naval combat? Because you often write in
Oh
space,
yes, it does.
unless you borrowed some of that for more of your more sort of grounded intellectual properties that you write.
I did borrow for both. The thing with space combat is that
Uh huh.
if you compare it to how things were back in the day in antiquity,
Yeah.
it's not, it's just as if not like times more dangerous. You have, even in space opera, you have these ships
Mm-hmm.
which in many cases they're not quite safe. if you
Yeah.
if you get,
Yeah.
if you catch my drift, not quite safe. You somehow are able to destroy the other ship, but in many cases, um boarding is the most, like, is it's not the safest way, but to achieve victory, but it's probably the surest way.
Mm.
Yeah, because your ship, you can miss your ship. Your enemy ship, the enemy ship can escape. And if it escapes, go return back. And the surest way is to capture the ship or just like board it, plant some demo charges and blow it up.
Mm-hmm.
And mind you, they did that in antiquity. They had these like amphorae, these cargo pottery vessels. I don't know if you've seen them. They're like long, big and long, and they would, yeah, they would fill them with oil, and the soldiers would carry them over to the enemy ship, and they would shatter them, and they would set them afire
Oh,
to a
okay.
flame, and they would then retreat back to their own ship, and they would command their rowers to row backwards, like away from the burning ship.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, it was like dangerous as fuck because, yeah, fire. All the ships are made of wood. The soldiers are, they are kind of, their armor is made of cloth, um, and leather, and it catches fire like there is no tomorrow. So
Wow.
I took that as an inspiration too. So
Yeah, there's a lot there. It sounds very hazardous.
yeah, it's the ships can sink, um, and obviously space is a multi-dimensional sea
Mm-hmm.
sorts. Yeah, you can sink upwards, downwards, sideways, backwards, and forwards.
About everything, yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
All right, all
Did
right.
you did you did you by chance like um read about some sort of naval warfare and use it in your writing?
No, I haven't honestly dug too deep into naval warfare. Unfortunately, so like my latest stories sort of takes place in the jungle. So as you can imagine, I've been focusing more on sort of
Jungle warfare.
well,
Yeah.
jungle agriculture and things of that nature. A lot of that kind of stuff. So it was an interesting one to hear this topic particularly. But I got a question. What happens when a hull gets breached in space?
Oh, well, a whole different slew of things can happen depending on what the defenses of the ship are in down here on Earth. If you have like a hull breach, the water will pour in the ship, and the ship will sink if you don't have pumps to pump out the water.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have engineers or repairmen to weld the whole shut, or if you don't have bulkheads, self-sealing bulkheads, hermetically self-sealing bulkheads that would insulate a section of your ship. And yeah, the ship, that section of the ship it will fill with water, but
Oh,
with these bulkheads, the rest of the ship will not be filled with water, and it theoretically should remain afloat. And this is how Titanic sank. It had the bulkheads, but they failed. In space, it's pretty much the same. You have, um, if you have like a hull breach, space will come in and it will suck everything out. It will suck people out. It will suck items and everything that's not nailed to the floor, or like in this case, to the floor plating or whatever. Uh, so first of all, there have been some automated systems which can act faster than humans or whatever creature that lives aboard the ship is. faster, and slam like uh, some emergency bulkhead or something, if possible. If not, this section of the ship is isolated from the rest of the ship by using the same style of automatic lockdown bulkheads that we use on sailing ships, on the like the sea ships. And pretty much everything that exposed to outer space is going to freeze and die. um, and if they are not wearing a suit, um, the death from decompression is not pretty. It's just like death from drowning is not quite pretty.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I can imagine. What does that actually look like in space? Because often due to somebody exterior goes with interest.
Well,
No.
it depends on the rate of the decompression, but from what I remember, it's like in most cases you kind of like your eyes um, pop,
Yikes.
yeah, and your organs turn into mush.
Oh,
Um,
why is that?
yeah, it's well because it's the rate of the decompression. It's like the
Oh, it's like
different.
bends.
Yeah, it's just like it sucks you out. Um, and if you're bigger than the hole, and you slam into the hole, and space will suck your like squishy parts through the
Ye-
hole, and eventually it will suck, like it will crush your bones and suck everything.
Okay. How often does
But
that happen in your writing?
uh well, it happens often, though when they're in battle, uh they wear suits. They wear because
Hmm.
they're prepared, they're ready. Just like on ships, they have, um if you've seen like war movies, you can notice that the sea men, they have these like the vests,
Yeah, yeah.
inflatable vests. Yeah, so it's sort of a preparation. They have also uh, bottles with compressed air, especially if they are the crew of a submarine.
Hmm.
They have to have them. So in space, if you're not prepared, if you're not like wearing a suit that
Yeah.
could insulate you, not just against the vacuum, but against the cold, because
Mm.
space is cold as fuck.
Yeah, yeah.
In many cases, you could, like, if you're away from the breach, you would survive the decompression for a time. You will not like, your eyes will not immediately pop out. It's You're not going to die from the decompression immediately.
Yeah.
Eventually will, but the cold will get you.
Hmm.
The cold will get you, and obviously the lack of air will get you.
Yeah, yeah. Space survival is a very interesting thing. I find quite intriguing. What other things go into it that you had to research for that particularly, like surviving long periods of time in space?
Well, the biggest thing is radiation, or more like
Hmm.
radiations, because you have various kinds of radiation, um, and you also have uh, radiation types that are not quite researched and
Interesting.
only theorized. like subspace radiation. You may have heard that in Star Trek. Let's say uh, they also they have like some exotic particles there. They even have like temporal particles,
Uh-huh.
temporal radiation, and this and that. But the normal radiation is terrible enough. Like in most cases, um, even just bypassing the Van Allen radiation belt, which is around Earth, is quite dangerous ordeal, and that's why the astronauts they have like specially insulated suits,
Yeah, yeah.
and even with them back in the day during the Apollo program days, um, for like seconds you
Hmm.
get like a nasty dose of radiation. So yeah, it's the radiation is perhaps it's deadlier because you if you do not prepare your ship, you can like your ship might be sturdy. You don't have any. You're not like you survive like micrometeorite hits.
Hmm.
You fly, and then everyone dies because the radiation gets you. One of the radiation types gets you.
Wow. Yeah, so it's like being like surrounded by ocean. You're like in a submarine almost.
Mhm. Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much.
Very
That's
interesting stuff.
have you seen I assume that you've watched it. Um there was like one of the early episodes of Star Trek with Captain Kirk called Balance of Power.
I don't know. Probably not. I wasn't too big into Star Trek back in the day.
They the gist of it is that they are um, actually replicating like a submarine fight but in space.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and they are fighting the Romulans. The Romulans have something called a cloaking device, which is actually an energy shield that projects a field around the ship and
Hmm.
makes it um, temporarily impervious to sensors, meaning that you do not see it and you cannot detect it with your radar, with your lidar, and this and that. The problem is that earlier version of the cloaking device also made the crew of the ship within blind.
Wow. Okay. That seems like a big issue there. You might want to work.
Yes. So they for them to attack, they had this like immensely powerful but slowly charging plasma torpedo, which
Oh.
basically launched magnetically encased blob of plasma, which is basically a sunken, pretty much.
Huh.
And they had to fight against Captain Kirk and then Enterprise, uh, and it was a harrowing situation because he could not see them until they would decloak and attack,
Uh huh.
and after they decloak and attack they would cloak again to
Wow.
recharge their weapon. And if you can watch it, it's really well done, even though it's a really old show.
Mm-hmm.
But the it shows one of the things in space that if you if you if you can master the art of stealth
Mm-hmm.
in space especially, and employed like the various types of terrain and even the radiation in space to
Yeah.
mask your signature, you could achieve devastating results. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. How do you stay stealth in space? And was there a form of stealth or ship detection back in the day in antiquity times?
Well, in antiquity, you you could paint your ship. Some did. I've read about it, but it's like the effectiveness is dubious,
Mm-hmm.
because the sea, it changes colors depending on the depth and the type of waters, and like marine life, and what was the thing, like that green thing, that wait, like I forgot the
Algae?
word. Yeah, the algae. Yeah. So yeah, it could work, but in a very specific um, situation or
Oh,
area.
interesting.
The thing which they used the most was um, just hiding behind islands,
Okay.
and having people on the islands themselves scouting for the fleet.
Okay.
And that was like a tactic that mostly like used for ambushes. And people, and you have to know that ships back then, they were slow as hell. They
Yeah.
were as fast as the currents, the winds, and best of all, the oarsmen. And they
Mm-hmm.
had specific teams of oarsmen. They trained for that. Like, they were highly paid, they were well fed. They trained since childhood for that.
Oh wow. Yeah, just
Um,
to be the best of the
yeah,
best out there,
the
huh?
best of the fucking best. Because if your city state does not have, like, you may not have like a large navy, but if your oarsmen are superior,
Mm-hmm.
they're basically the engine of the ship. The wind, yeah, fuck the wind. The wind can, you didn't have like this elaborate sailing uh, technology that later ships had. You didn't have that.
Yeah.
You just had oars, and maybe a favorable wind which could like push you a few kilometers per hour, like super favorable wind. And maybe if you use the current, yes. But that the way to stay stealthy was to hide behind some natural obstacle, like some island or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And in space, well, in space, bar the use of a cloaking shield, which is the most elaborate, expensive, energy consuming, and also dangerous way to stay stealthy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the best way to stay stealthy is to be cold as fuck. Cold,
Cold.
just cold, as cold as the space that surrounds you.
Okay. So they would detect the heat of their engines or something?
Yes, yeah, they would detect like everything that works.
Mhm.
Touch your computer.
Yeah.
The computer generates heat. Everything that works, everything that has electronics, everything that's it's a machine. It
Mm-hmm.
generates heat. So a human body generates heat. Everything generates heat. The weapon systems, when fired, they generate heat. Even just like the working, the usual operation of a normal vehicle generates heat.
Mm-hmm.
And you have things like radiators. Let's say in the car, you have this radiator with water, and you have these rotary cooling devices to cool the engine somewhat.
Mm-hmm.
In space, it's even more important. because the thermal radiation is a thing that gives you up from far, far, far away,
Yeah.
like really far away, really far away. If you can find a way to dissipate the thermal radiation via heat sinks and approach in a way that you're not expending any gas, like you're not, let's say you're using some sort of like advanced gravitic drive which also generates heat, but like let's say that you're using that, you could approach without being detected and then attack. Of course they will see you, they will physically see you.
Yeah. I'd imagine.
Yes, they will fucking physically see you. They will not see the beams that you fire, because the beams, for them to be seen, you need to use like sensors, you need to use lidar and stuff to actually see the beams. The laser beams, they're not like in science fiction movies when you see ships shooting the pew pew beams at each other. This is made for a visual spectacle. In
Yeah.
actual space combat, you will not fucking see the beams. You will
Yeah.
not even see the missiles. Maybe if they are big enough, you will see the trails, the engine trails of the missiles, the contrails of the
Interesting.
missiles,
So that's
because
how
the
it works.
missiles burn gas. They leave a trail,
Mm-hmm.
and you could see that. But unless you have like really good visual sensors, you will not see the missiles. The missiles are way too tiny.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
you will not see the shells. Most combat done, especially in Star Shattered from the Terran side, is done via railguns or coil guns.
Those are the
Um,
weapons of choice.
yeah, they because they are cheap and effective.
Mm-hmm.
You will not see the shells. You will not, like it does not look like the tracer rounds that are fired for the war movies, the Hollywood war
Yeah.
movies. No, you won't see them. And yes, even though the beams, they are quote unquote supposed to instantly hit because they are quote unquote moving at light speed. No, that's bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
That's not guaranteed 100% hit ratio. It's not.
All right.
Uh
Sounds like you definitely put a lot of time and effort into the naval combat of your world there.
yes, yes. Yeah, so as we discussed many times before, took years. Uh,
Yeah.
and as
Where else did naval antiquity fit in? Like, what's some stuff that you found out that you didn't think would necessarily sort of suit your world building, but it did?
there was a thing that I researched about the Roman Navy. They
Mhm.
had these like advancements, mechanical advancements in for the most part. Um, they added specific things on their ships which gave them an edge because they were piss poor
Yeah.
at naval combat. The Romans, they got their asses handed to them many times, but they improved, they advanced, and the way they advanced was via mechanization. So
Hmm.
a thing that they used was this. I forgot the Latin name, but they had this like special boarding claw slash ladder, which would like bite into the enemy ship and claw itself to the hull.
Oh, wow.
And then the troops would just like walk over with impunity. while in most cases they would have to, like, while wearing all the armor and the spear and the shield and the stuff, they had to hop um, across, like hop between the boards, to reach the other deck.
Hmm.
Or in worst case scenario, they would like walk over the oars when the oars crush into each other,
No.
which, like, the sea moves and the two ships move, and the oars also, well, the oarsmen, they are trying to free the oars to push the other ship away in most cases. And imagine, like, you're trying to walk across this shitty mess.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, the Romans said, "Oh, no, 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 we're not going to do this. We'll make this mechanical doodah over here, and this, like, it will make all naval battles a much easier land battles."
Yeah.
So I would use that and create specific boarding arms,
Mhm.
but in space they are taken from mechs, from ground mechs, modified and attached to ships, and you could actually punch other ships with them and
Huh. Oh, that's fun.
grab them. Yeah, which is a lot of fun.
Definitely sounds interesting there. What was actually your largest inspiration from antiquity?
That would be a thing which you may have read about. Is called Greek fire.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
So this thing, which as modern people we compare it to napalm.
Hmm.
Sometimes it's not napalm. Obviously, it's not napalm. It's the formula has been lost.
Yeah.
Some researchers, they claim that yes, we have found the formula. This is the formula, but yeah, it's always it's not the same. It's not as it was explained to have worked.
Hmm.
Um, I think for the last time it was like uh, the Greco-Romans who used it, and then it vanished. It was gone.
Oh,
That I
interesting.
think that I think was like in the early Middle Ages was used, if I'm not mistaken, against the Muslim uh, invaders who attempted to capture um, what was left of the Byzantine. I hate using the word Byzantine because they did not call themselves such. They called themselves Romans.
Uh-huh.
Uh, yeah. So this thing, it inspired perhaps one of the most important maneuvers in my work, which is the engine cut.
The
And
engine.
the engine cut is basically how they use Greek fire, but
Hmm.
in my case, it's the engines. The engines, because they are electroplasma engines, and you can
Okay.
point the engine from like really close. You can aim the engine at the enemy ship and burn, activate it on maximum burn, and if you are able to hit the ship, it's you can melt through the hull,
Okay.
unless the enemy ship has heavy armor and energy shield, but in many cases the damage you deal is devastating. The issue is that it's dangerous, and you
Mhm.
use up lots of fuel. But it was the same for the ships armed with this primitive flamethrower which spewed Greek fire.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
I can
in many
imagine that had to be
cases,
very dangerous.
oh boy, yeah, in many cases they would explode. They would just never reach the enemy. They would just detonate. Um, in other cases, when they activated the weapon and they began to like pump the
Hmm.
flames at the enemy, they would set themselves aflame.
Yeah, yeah. I'd imagine that would happen with such a crazy weapon like that.
Yeah, yeah. It was. It had, let's say, a lot of kings.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. At least, anyway. So, tell us something interesting about antiquity, particularly naval, that surprised you. Maybe you didn't necessarily see coming in your research.
Uh, well, what surprised me the most was that at a certain point, all Greek military ships,
Uh huh.
well, at least those who um, were um, under a capable admiral, all
Hmm.
of them carried an olive tree on board.
Really?
Yep.
Is that symbolic?
Well, no. Well, they could plant it. Um, some of them carried more than just one olive tree.
Hmm. Symbolic.
And what they did was that when they would stop at like certain small tiny islands, which the archipelago is, if you seen the map, it's full of tiny islands everywhere.
Uh huh.
Um, and they would plant them, and these like olive trees, they are quite sturdy.
Yeah.
They could grow on a poor soil. But in most cases, a lot of these islands, like I think they are volcanic, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, yes, yeah.
Hmm.
And so some of these islands, they have like the top of the islands, it's like they have like nice soil, and so the sailors would climb there and they would plant these fucking olive trees everywhere, and like literally everywhere. And they later, let's say next year, if they would like have an issue with food, especially, and stuff, they would go around, visit the islands, these tiny rocky islands, and they would pick all of the fucking olives.
Oh, okay. So sort of like grow their own survival food.
Yeah, yeah, and they would survive.
Wow.
um and
Interesting.
it's like I was like, wait a minute, that's actually fucking genius.
Yes.
uh, the Romans, if I'm not mistaken, they planted trees along their roads, their famous Roman roads, but I forgot what kind of trees they were. I can't remember. It's too late. Um, but that they learned from the Greeks. Um, that trick with the trees. I'm
Okay.
not sure. I'm not sure. I think they may have planted like fig trees or something, or apple trees, or like something like that. But they did do that. The
Okay.
Romans.
That is pretty cool. It's a great way of just having food out there when you're just continuously sailing about.
Yeah, it's they can't you can't survive uh
Yeah.
just on fish. because in many cases the fish, they why the hell would the fish like swim around your ship? Why?
Yeah.
You have to feed the fish with something. You have to like drop something in the water, like some sort of feed
Mm-hmm.
for the fish. If the fish has nothing to eat, the school of fish will just like swim away, and you'll die of hunger.
Mm-hmm.
But olives, as you know, the fucking olives, they are magic.
Yeah, yeah, they're very hardy. That's for sure.
They're magic, and you can make olive oil from them. Though
Mm-hmm.
I doubt they could do that on the ship. Um, but let's say they need like some a boost of
Yeah,
financial boost,
yeah.
and they've planted like lots of trees across multiple islands, and they would just like pick all the olives, and they
Sell them
like
like cargo.
yeah sell the cargo of fresh or freshly picked olives, and they're like, yeah, give us the coin, man, and you can make the olive oil later.
Nice. Not bad. That's very interesting logistics. You don't think goes into that kind of stuff.
Grow your own food supply across the sea.
If you got a lot of small islands, it's logistically sound.
Yeah, it's like they literally have, I think you have hundreds of them.
Not bad, not bad. Well, I think we're nearing the 20-minute mark, so why don't we go ahead and wrap it up? Black Knight, where can people find you, man?
Well, as usual, they can find me on Amazon. They can find all my already published Star Shutter books of the Star Shutter series there. They can find my two short story collections, the Mandate of Sword and Dragon and the Blood of Tyrants, and of course the Shadow Fantasy, Lord of Bones. Um, and for those who like to read some poetry, some haiku, some longer form of haiku of haiku called tanka, or a more classical poems and short stories, they can visit my Substack page, which is substack.com, The Black Knight, and read a bunch of short novellas and poems and the like for free.
Sounds great. Yes, everybody, take advantage of that in this crazy world of AI schlock that gets, dumped out. Get some free stuff out there from an actual author you can listen to, you can talk to here on the stream. But with that said, we are out of here. Want to respect your time. If you're part of the replay crew, give us a thumbs up, give us a like, give us a comment, share with your friends. But we are out of here, everybody. Thank you so much